Hi, this is James Gardner October Library here with the first book review of 2024. Originally, I was going to have this book review back in December before the new year. Unfortunately, I got sick with a cold for a few days, so that hindered me from doing any reading. So that's why this book review took a little longer than it should have, but that's okay. Because last year, I beat my record of previous books that I read back in 2022, and I read basically a total of 33 books, so I'm very happy to have beaten that record. Now, for this year, I have to beat 33. But alright. Today's book review I will be talking about today, Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. This is a nice cover despite the fact that this book is in rough shape and it's a library edition. Okay, let's see. This book was originally published in Russia in 1972. This edition is from 1977 by Malcolm Publishing. This was a reread. I read this book after many years ago, and I still like this book. It's an excellent book. This is many people know that Roadside Picnic will go to be the inspiration for the video game Stalker series and a film that's very loosely based on it. But when I was reading this book, it had things I like with it and things I didn't like with it. But my one complaint with this book, which I'll explain more in my review, is that it is very short. This is not a long. This is not a long book. It's got it's got this extra short novel in it. So this is only 145 pages. So you could read this in one single sitting if you wanted to. I was also I was also a little disappointed that there's not much more in the book that I thought there was, and I felt so this could have been expanded upon. I felt the author should have rewrote this book and just made it a more longer version of it, or wrote a sequel, turn this into a series. That would have been more interesting to see, but unfortunately they only wrote the one book. Roadside Picnic is definitely worth reading, as it's a very imaginative, creative, and good book that even when you're reading, you'll start thinking of ideas from it. All right, on to the book review. Plot: set after the events known as the Visitation, when a unseen alien race came to Earth for 2 days and left behind artifacts which caused both the environment and wildlife to change. Both the UN and the world governments keep tight control over 6 zones that are heavily patrolled by armed forces, as it's forbidden to enter outside of these 6 zones. A group of outcasts and misfits known as stalkers are people who illegally enter outside of these zones to collect artifacts, as they're very valuable. Rennick Schuhart Red, a young yet tough and experienced stalker who works as a lab assistant for the International Institute. He is nearly arrested by police, but because he has no artifacts, he is let go with a warning. Returning to the lab, Red brings what artifacts he has to his boss. He is offered a lot of money if he can find a full empty. Red accepts with Krill and enters the zone under the cover of darkness. Exploring through the abandoned town that has been taken over by nature while keeping an eye out for helicopter patrols, both Red and Krill throw nuts to avoid walking into force fields that can kill a person. Red and Krill find a full empty inside a garage that's covered in spider webs. The two bring back the artifact and are paid for their work. Red goes to a bar before visiting his girlfriend, Gouda. While at the bar, 2 police attempt to arrest Red, who uses a shrieker to make a quick escape. When Red returns to Gouda, her mother wants her to get an abortion because stalkers are known to have high risks of mutated babies, but Gouda doesn't want to. Red tells her everything will be fine and plan to get married. Several years later, Red is hiding in a cemetery while patrols are searching for him. Under the cover of darkness and fog, Red is able to sneak past the patrols as they refuse to enter the zone. However, he finds Birdbridge, known as the Vulture, is badly injured after stepping into hell slime, as it's slowly dissolving his legs. Birdbridge makes a deal to Red to reveal the most valuable artifact known to the Stalkers. The Golden Ball, a powerful artifact that will grant any wish you want, but no stalker has ever found this artifact and brought it back alive. Red accepts Burbridge's deal as he carries him across the cemetery, then steals one of the patrol cars and drives through the abandoned areas and over an old bridge to avoid patrols and roadblocks. He takes Burbridge to the butcher to have his legs amputated. After dropping off what artifacts Red has found, gets paid and returns back to his wife, Gouda, with dinner. She has given birth to a healthy and smart daughter. However, she is covered in fur and has dark eyes, as they name her Monkey. While Red's job is paying well, but it's becoming more difficult to avoid patrols as they've been cracking down on stalkers, and many well-known stalkers have either been caught or killed while out in the zone. However, new stalkers are becoming better organized. The years of exploring the zone has caused Red's body to mutate into a dog, facing problems with the neighbors and wishing to retire and move out into a cabin in the forest away from the town. With the aid of Arthur, son of Burbridge, they travel through the zone in search of the Golden Ball. When they find it, whose wish will it grant? Roadside Picnic was a good read, but too short. While it has an interesting setting with the zone and the artifacts, however, we don't get to see more of that, along with what the wildlife looks like. I also wish there were more scenes of abandoned areas in the zone, along with towns that are heavily patrolled by soldiers. Extra detail would have really made these scenes pop out better, as there wasn't enough scenery. I also felt this novel was lacking more chapters, as there isn't enough meat and potatoes within its plot. Having more scenes of the zone and characters would have really fleshed out more ideas to see within the world of Roadside Picnic. While I like the main character Red, but he wasn't featured enough in the novel, and we don't get to see more of his daughter Monkey too. The rest of the characters we come to know were alright, but not enough interesting characters. I also wish both authors went into more detail on how these towns work, as they don't explain much on how its residents make a living, with only a few jobs featured within the story. During the third part of the story, it follows a different character after Red is arrested, as this scene tries to explain how the stalkers are avoiding patrols and sneaking in artifacts to avoid being replaced by robot stalkers. I wish the authors didn't add this and just focus more on Red, along with seeing more of the zone. The pacing was good, but felt each chapter was too short and not long enough. Lastly, I felt a few moments of action would have been nice too. If Roadside Picnic was a lot thicker, then this would have been a lot better. However, it's still a decent read. Overall, I recommend Roadside Picnic, as it's a good novel which blends sci-fi, post-apocalyptic, and supernatural themes within an interesting world of the zone. But as I said before, there isn't a lot within this novel, so don't have your expectations too high. And that is it for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, Roadside Picnic is a good book. I just couldn't believe how short it was. I was really surprised, because this book is not that long. It's only, as I said, 145 pages long. So it's very short. I really, the things I like with Roadside Picnic, I really like the setting of this. The world is been altered after this alien race came and left behind these artifacts, and it's caused the whole environment and wildlife to change, and now like the government has like tight control over like these 6 zones and they try to prevent people from entering them, and you got the stalkers who like sneak into these zones to collect these artifacts. I really like that. That's the thing I really like with this book. And what scenes we do get with, outside the zone are really nice. Like there's a part where in the beginning of the story, it's like there's a abandoned town that the Red and Krillin, yeah, where Red and the other stalker are exploring this abandoned town to find the full empty, and then later on, Red's hiding from the patrols. Well, in a cemetery while it's foggy. I really like those scenes. I just wish we had more of that. Like there's not a lot of like scenes that we don't get to see more of the zone, which is unfortunate. There's not a lot of artifacts that are featured in the story. I believe there's one that's brought up, but it's never explained what it is, and we don't get to see much more of Red's daughter, Monkey, what kind of happens to her because her fate's left unknown at the end of the story. And I just felt this book could have been so much better if it had more to offer. Like I kind of wish the authors either like either rewrote Roadside Picnic and made it into a more longer story, or wrote a sequel or something. Like if only they could have done that years ago. Um, and the third chapter I really didn't like because this is follows a different character after Red gets arrested, and it's trying to explain how the stalkers have been making a living, and I really didn't like this scene. I just wanted to get back to Red and see more of the zone. That's what I wanted to see more of, and then he comes right in at the end of the third chapter, and I just felt like the story feels way too short, and the ending, while the ending was all right, I just wish it had like more scenes of the zone and finding more artifacts and seeing what each like different zone looks like. That would have been really interesting. Um, but overall, it's still a good book. As I said, Roadside Picnic would go on to serve the inspiration for the video game Stalker series, and like even other authors have been inspired by this book and like uh, wrote their own novels based inspired by Stalker. Films have taken inspiration from this. I have heard of the Stalker film, but I'm not interested in seeing it because it diverts way too much from the original plot of the story and changes too much around from the story. So I would not recommend watching the film Stalker, as it completely changes this whole story around from Roadside Picnic. So it's not worth watching, unfortunately. It would be really interesting to see someone do a film adaptation of Roadside Picnic, but expanding upon it, of course. Uh, um, um, oh, and the other thing too, we don't get to see much in Roadside Picnic is what does the wild look like? Because there's spiders in the zone, but we don't really get to see them. There's one part where there's like a wild dog that lives out in the zone that's in one part, and I think it does bring up I think it does bring up like some creature known as a bloodsucker, but you don't get to see it. It's just something that's brought up. Um, I just would like to see more like what the wildlife would have looked like in the zone and stuff. Uh, that would have been nice too. But overall, this is still a good book. All right, that's it for the review today. Hope you enjoyed it. And for my next two books, I got some goodies here. So for my next book, I'll be reading Dad's Nuke, and I got a graphic novel picked out as well. The Killer. I am looking forward to reading both this and and Dad's Nuke. So I'm gonna have two goodies coming next on the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to October Library, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook group with the same name, placing post share review fiction. Until then, I'll catch you later.